cannot beat me.
Remember the click-clack of tokens hitting the arcade floor? The smell of burnt circuitry and crushed dreams? Yeah, we're diving deep into that beautiful chaos. 13 forgotten 90s arcade games that are still worth playing today. I'm Bruce, back again with another nostalgic video. So, you've probably heard of the legends, but what about the weird, wild, and wonderfully obscure ones hiding behind the Street Fighter cabinets? Trust me, if this title even vaguely made your thumb twitch, you're in the right spot. And hey, stick around till the end for a game that had zero business being that good. If you find yourself vibing with this, drop a like, leave a hot take, and don't forget to subscribe. Alright, now let's jump right in. Primal Rage. Right off the bat, we are going in with a game that was already echoing with earth-shaking roars in 1994, long before dinosaur fighting gods became the answer to every schoolyard debate. This primal brawler was more about pulverizing your opponent with talons, fangs, and fur than saving princesses. The world had ended, Earth had risen, and humanity had devolved into loincloth-wearing worshippers, watching as 7 giant monsters beat the ever-loving meteor dust out of each other. Using stop-motion models, yes, real miniatures with actual armatures, the dev team captured every claw, slash, and tail whip frame by frame. Blizzard, Diablo, Sauron, Vertigo, each creature were literal gods with cults and kingdoms. Players could devour screaming worshippers mid-match to regain health, or lose points if you munched on your own fan club. The special move system flipped expectations too, button hold first, then joystick input, making your victory feel that much more earned. And the fatalities? They ranged from gruesome to bizarre. Vertigo turning opponents into cows takes the cake. With over 1.5 million copies sold and ports on almost everything from SNES to PC, this beastfest left a dino-sized footprint in arcade history and deserves a roaring comeback. Night Slashers. Let me tell you something. Back when the arcade smelled like nacho cheese, there was one cabinet that dared to ask, what if Final Fight had a baby with a monster movie marathon? Developed by Data East in 1993, this underappreciated gem let you pummel zombies, karate chop Dracula, and freeze a werewolf mid-air, all before the mall closed. You stormed crypts, mad labs, and apocalyptic cityscapes while yelling, "To hell!" if you were lucky enough to be playing the uncensored Japanese version. The plot? King Xerath wants to turn Earth into one giant undead kingdom. Naturally, a cyborg with psychic lightning punches, a British martial artist wielding holy ice, and a tiny Chinese fire sorceress say, "Not today, Satan." The heroes came with elemental attacks and flashy screen zappers that fried ghouls in style. And yes, the remake in 2024 added a 4th playable warrior, Liu Feilin, opera star turned kung fu assassin. Because why not? What made it unforgettable was the crunchy combat, multi-phase bosses, hello Grim Reaper with a health bar from hell, and chaos-soaked co-op fun. If your arcade didn't have this in '93, you were seriously being haunted by missed opportunity. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Every once in a while, an arcade game came along that had it all: mutant bosses, giant reptiles, and a Cadillac barreling through the desert. Released in 1993 by Capcom and based on the comic Xenozoic Tales, this beat-em-up, mashed post-apocalyptic pulp with side-scrolling chaos in a way that made quarters vanish like dinosaurs in an asteroid storm. 4 playable heroes, Jack, Hannah, Mustafa and Mess, take on the Black Marketeers, a gang turning peaceful dinos into rage-fueled monsters. But this wasn't all fists and kicks. Players unleashed team combos, commandeered firearms, and even wielded clubs ripped from the scenery. And when a dinosaur wandered into the brawl, duck and pray, it didn't stomp your face in. These neutral beasts attacked everyone. Plot-wise, things spiraled from swamp fights to high-speed desert chases to mad science gone full Jurassic nightmare. The finale pitted you against Dr. Fessenden, a man so delusional he transformed into a 3-headed bio-beast in the name of evolution. Yeah, subtlety wasn't on the menu. While it never got a home console release, its cult status only grew. If your arcade didn't echo with Eat Lead Baby in the 90s, did you even live through the golden age of pixelated perfection? Captain America and the Avengers. Before superhero games became cinematic universes unto themselves, there was a glorious moment in 1991 when Data East brought Marvel's mightiest into a coin-chomping, side-scrolling slugfest. And if you picked up the 4-player arcade unit, or maybe the 2-player variant, this was peak Saturday morning coming to life, with brawling, blasting, and boss fights galore. You could suit up as Captain America, Iron Man, Hawkeye, or Vision, sporting their distinct Avenger attacks, ranging from shield throws and arrow barrages to searing energy beams. Foes didn't come light either. Ultron, Juggernaut, Whirlwind, even the Mandarin joined Red Skull's villain buffet. One minute you were throwing hands on city streets, the next you were flying through bullet hell side-scrolling segments with Iron Man jetting solo and Cap strapping into a hovercraft. Variety? Check. This was a parade of comic book cameos. Wasp, Quicksilver and Wonder Man popped in for quick assists, just long enough to make you wish they were playable. Ports hit everything from Genesis to Game Gear, while a completely different NES version rewrote the formula as an action platformer. And in a cosmic twist of fate, the arcade classic got a modern revival in 2021 via Arcade 1-Up.
Time to meet your maker!
Boogie Wings. When arcade cabinets started looking samey in the early 90s, along came a biplane dragging a giraffe across a battlefield. And yes, that sentence makes perfect sense if you ever played this 1992 chaos-fueled gem from Data East. Known as the Great Ragtime Show in Japan, it mashed World War I era flair with absurd steampunk weaponry, slapstick destruction, and yes, a boss fight with a giant robotic Santa Claus. Ho ho, hold your fire. Your main ride? A biplane armed with guns, a lightning-charged megashot, and a physics-defying rear hook. That hook let you drag cars, crates, or enemy soldiers mid-flight, then fling them into chaos like weaponized trash. And if your plane got shot down, no game over. You hopped out guns blazing on foot, hijacked elephants, pogo sticks, or even a mechanical chicken until you found another ride. Inspired partly by Roga, Armor Force, this was Data East leaning all the way into cartoon physics, with destructible environments, tongue-in-cheek storytelling and visual detail worthy of an animated film. No two moments felt the same. It never got a home release, making it one of the greatest, wait, that was real, arcade oddities ever made. And yes, dragging a Jeep into a Zeppelin is peak game design. Tumble Pop. Somewhere between ghost-busting and vacuum warfare, early 90s arcades birthed a game where players could use vacuum cleaner-like devices to suck up enemies, then spit them out as rolling balls to defeat other foes in their path. So yeah, you basically sucked at defeating monsters. Pun intended. Released in 1991 and developed by Data East, this globe-trotting platformer starred two ghost hunters armed with vacuum cleaner-like devices on a mission to clean up 10 wildly themed regions, from the pyramids of Egypt to the moon itself. Levels play like a fusion of Bubble Bobble and Snow Brothers, only with chaotic rebounds and suction-based crowd control. Capture a creature, hold too long, and boom, they escape and make you regret your hesitation. Catch and Release was the name of the game. Enemies get spat out as bouncing balls of doom, careening across the screen, taking out other foes and leaving behind gems, letters, and power-ups. Spell Tumble Pop from collectible letters, and you'll unlock timed bonus stages packed with points and lives, but dawdle too long in any level, and a deathless vampire beast will crash the party. There's even cameos from Karnov and Joe and Mac, like a bizarre Data East reunion tour. Ported to multiple platforms with varied results, it's the arcade original that remains the most electric. If you remember button mashing to dodge a tumbling alien in Paris, you've lived the dream. Shadow Force. Released in 1996 by a lesser-known dev team operating under the ominous moniker Night Ember, this grim gem vanished from arcades faster than it deserved. You played a lone monster hunter, soaked in leather and vengeance, dropped into a world where humanity had long since lost the upper hand. Your mission was wiping out creatures older than civilization itself, if they didn't wipe you out first. Every run hurled you into procedurally generated, trap-riddled rooms filled with rotting horrors, twitchy abominations, and just enough loot to make you think, maybe, just maybe I'll survive this time. But Shadow Force was more about builds than smashing. You weren't locked into a class. Your loadout, from rusted cleavers to relic-grade artifacts, was your identity. Want to swing fire hammers while bleeding poison from your armor? Do it. Want to fight bare-handed with movement buffs and a magical rat you found in a dungeon? That works too. Multiplayer co-op added chaotic brilliance. Friends could drop in, revive you mid-fight, or steal the loot you died reaching for. With its rogue-light backbone, evolving gear, and unforgiving tone, Shadow Force became that one machine in the back corner of the arcade you both feared and worshipped. Virtual on-cyber troopers. Arcades in the mid-90s had their fair share of punch fests and gun-blazing chaos, but this one, it needed 2 joysticks and a deep understanding of how to pilot a 20-foot virtuaroid into glorious metallic warfare. Released in late 1995, or early 96 depending who you are, Sega's Virtual On Cyber Troopers brought mech dueling into the spotlight with 3D combat that felt like an arena-based Gundam dream. Players faced off in 1v1 battles across dynamic stages, controlling agile, weapon-packed virtuaroids using the iconic twin-stick controller, a setup that looked like a bulldozer control panel, but played like an arcade ballet of dashes, jumps, and laser-blasting finesse. The mechs came equipped with a trio of weapons, left, right, and center, firing differently depending on your movement. Jumping while firing, that was a strategy. Dash shooting at the right angle, devastating. The story's a slice of dystopian sci-fi. A rogue AI activates a doomsday cannon, and you're humanity's last joystick-wielding hope. Ports hit the Sega Saturn, with optional online play via Netlink in Japan and X-Band in the US. Windows and later re-releases landed on PS2, Xbox Live and PSN. In Japan this was a phenomenon. Everywhere else, criminally underappreciated. Twin sticks at the ready. This was peak cyber combat.
Order 12. Operation Exploitation underway. Proceed to objective. Club X. Roger. Copy that. Order 12. Countering resistance.
Revolution X. Before rhythm games made plastic guitars cool, arcades gave us an absolute fever dream. A rail shooter starring Aerosmith, a corrupt world regime, and a machine gun that fired compact discs like shurikens of freedom. Developed by Midway and released in 1990, this over-the-top shooter took the Terminator 2 Judgment Day formula and cranked the amps to 11, literally. Set in a dystopian 1996, where music and youth culture are outlawed by the New Order Nation, NON, players stumble into Club X just as Aerosmith is abducted mid-performance. You escape, steal a helicopter, naturally, and start your global mission to blow up Anon facilities across the Amazon, Middle East, and Pacific Rim. You'll find every stage packed with power-ups, health shakes, laser discs, skull bombs, and yes, even hostages you can rescue for points and gratitude. Each band member is hidden somewhere in the chaos. Find all 5 and you'll unlock a backstage ending that's part secret bonus level, part absurd 90s party fantasy. The arcade version rocked hard, but ports to home consoles? Let's just say they hit more sour notes than power chord. Still, in its cabinet form, Revolution X was pure arcade rebellion.
Lethal Enforcers.
Lethal Enforcers. No quarter was safe in 1992 when Konami dropped this digitized bullet ballet into arcades. Using photorealistic sprites and a revolver-shaped light gun called the Justifier, it gave you the badge, the weapon, and a city under siege, and dared you to clean it up without taking out any civilians. One wrong shot, and your rank dropped like a brick. The story drops you into the scuffed shoes of Don Marshall, a Chicago cop sipping his last sip of coffee before crime rudely interrupts his break. From a bank robbery to a chemical plant sabotage, every mission escalates the chaos as you shoot your way through ski-masked thugs, gas-masked terrorists, and the occasional hijacker. It's first-person mayhem across 6 levels with instant death accuracy and a rank system tracking your performance from patrolman to commander. Kill a civilian? Say goodbye to that promotion. Arcade owners could switch between linear progression and stage select, and power-ups ranged from the trusty 38 to a grenade launcher you only dreamed of keeping. The game was one of 1993's highest-grossing arcade hits in the US, though controversy followed due to its lifelike violence. That didn't stop ports to SNES, Genesis, and Sega CD, bringing the action home alongside the outrage.
Now receiving orders from Central Headquarters. Now receiving enemy transmission from Sky. Good luck.
Skull Fang. There's something beautifully chaotic about diving nose first into bullet hell with nothing but a hyperspeed jet and a vengeance-fueled soundtrack behind you. In 1996, Data East unleashed Skull Fang, the third and final chapter in its loosely connected trilogy that began with Vapor Trail. This vertical scrolling shooter basically wanted you to break the sound barrier while dodging bullets. You piloted one of 4 specialized jets launched from the airborne mothership Skull Fang, piloted by elite flyers with their own quippy dialogue and explosive loadout. The screen constantly swarmed with enemy squadrons, missile trails, and giant bosses that looked like they were designed by angry engineers with too much time and not enough regulations. The 1997 Sega Saturn port added a few bells and whistles, a boss rush mode, speed adjustments, tutorial videos, and even Red Book audio tracks, including remixes of themes from Vapor Trail. Sure, sprite flickering was a thing, but when you're blazing across enemy territory at Mach 3, a few pixels out of place feel like battle scars. Few remember this trilogy's curtain call, but for those who do, Skull Fang wasn't just fast, it was feral, and it wanted your reflexes, your patience, and all your continues. Xexex. How does piloting a tentacle-wielding space jet while trying to rescue a weeping anime princess from a biomechanical warlord named Klaus sound to you? Released by Konami in 1991, this side-scrolling shooter combined the DNA of Gradius, R-Type, and X-Multiply, and somehow came out even weirder and sleeker. Your ship? The Flintlock TMF-01. Your co-pilot? A mysterious, living alien orb named Flint that wraps around enemies like it's starring in its own sci-fi opera. Stage by stage, players fly through alien-infested spacescape, dodging bullets while upgrading Flint's tentacle reach, weapon loadout, and speed. In the Japanese version, you cycle through multiple weapons and checkpoint-based lives. The Western version simplifies things, just the proton laser and missiles, with a health bar instead of lives, and a much shorter Flint that behaves more like a floating bayonet than a flexible symbiote. No home release came until 2007, when it quietly slipped into Salamander Portable in Japan. It wasn't until 2021 that the game got a global revival via Arcade Archives on PS4 and Switch. It may have been Konami's most ambitious shooter nobody played at launch, but those who did remember Irene's desperate cries, Klaus's taunts, and Flint's elegant chaos like it was yesterday. Manx TT Superbike. Some arcade cabinets begged for quarters. This one begged you to lean into the curve, literally. Released in 1995 by Sega AM3 and AM4 on the Powerhouse Model 2 hardware, this motorcycle racer dropped players onto the winding roads of the legendary Isle of Man TT course. It was about style, control, and the subtle art of not wiping out mid-corner while trying to look cool in front of your friends. Gameplay came in two flavors: the fictional Laxey Coast for beginners, and the blisteringly tough TT course for the brave or foolish. The cabinet's brilliance lay in its physical bike controls. No clunky foot pushing here. Just shifting your body weight could send your on-screen bike into a lean, making the experience feel dangerously close to the real thing. Tetsuya Mizuguchi, fresh off Sega Rally, produced the game after falling in love with the island's scenery in a magazine. AM3 even consulted Castrol Honda's racing team to get bike acoustics right, going so far as to jury-rig 4 sound outputs using a Model 1 board. The Sega Saturn port, surprisingly handled by Australian devs Tantalus, was a critical hit, and its arcade cabinet, still one of the most satisfying leans in gaming history. And with that, you have made it to the end of this video. So, how many of these arcade ghosts did you actually remember? Be honest, I won't judge, unless you skipped Skull Fang. If you played them back in the day, or just found your next emulator obsession, these games still hit hard. And if you think that list was wild, wait till you see what we've got lined up next. If you made it this far, you clearly get it. So hit that like button, drop your favorite pick in the comments, and subscribe to our channel so we can keep the nostalgia flowing.
Situation under control. Unit 5 out.